Short Stories Good 2025. The Secret Inside the Hospital. I'm on my 4th cup of coffee today, and as I finish it, I'm already bracing for my Christmas Eve gift, tachycardia. Being a coffee addict isn't ideal in your first year as a fellow at St. Maria's General Hospital. No isn't exactly an option when Chief Kermit asks you to cover extra shifts. The hospital's chronically understaffed, and his guilt-tripping amphibian eyes make refusal feel impossible. Kat says I have a people-pleasing problem, which is probably why I can't say no to Frog. Yes, that's what everyone calls Chief Kermit, for obvious reasons. But the truth is, the thought of another doctor handling my serious patients while I'm lounging on the sofa in my new downtown apartment makes my skin crawl. No, I haven't bought a bed yet. Don't ask. I'm just relieved my place is finally only a 20-minute walk from the hospital. Kat also says I have a perfectionist streak, and she's not wrong. But hey, that streak got me here, didn't it? So, I'm not about to start dismantling my core personality just because it occasionally turns my life into a dumpster fire. Anyway, it's Christmas Eve. I'm sitting in an empty patient room, wrapping up paperwork for Mrs. Connolly, who went home today, jaundice-free. Somewhere in the background, the faint strain-soft music filter in from the basement. That would be the annual Christmas Eve party in the conference room, a hospital tradition where doctors, nurses, interns, and other staff gather for free booze and a buffet. Kat's already sent me 8 increasingly typo-laden texts from the party. I can tell she's officially hammered, her normally flawless spelling has taken a nosedive. That's the dead giveaway her prefrontal cortex has decided to clock out for the night. It's her 9th text that stops me cold. Dr. Gabrow's JST came up to talk to me. The instant I read it, a wave of hot jealousy floods my insides like wildfire. Kat is my best friend, my ride or die, the person I'd commit unspeakable acts for if anyone so much as hurt her feelings. But this? Hearing that James Gabriel, the man I've been quietly, pathetically pining over for the better part of a year, actually approached her and started a conversation. For a solid 10 seconds I can't see straight, but then logic cuts through the haze. Kat would never intentionally hurt me. Never. That's just not who she is. So I can't be mad at her, even if every fiber of my being is screaming at the unfairness of the universe. James Gabriel, the unattainable, too gorgeous for words attending who barely spares a glance at use fresh out of residency fellows unless it's work-related, is downstairs right now, talking to Kat. At the party. And I'm up here doing paperwork like a chump. It makes my stomach churn. My fingers itch to chuck Mrs. Connolly's file across the room and sprint downstairs. What could he possibly be saying to her? Is he drunk? Did he decide tonight is the night to finally engage in small talk with the mere mortals of the hospital? And if so, is this my chance? Could I casually insert myself into the conversation and maybe, just maybe, exchange words with him that aren't about morbid diseases? I fire off a text. Woot. What did he say? Kat's reply comes almost immediately saying, he's still here. He's asking me about my plans for hours tmars.my stomach tightens. Before I can process that, she sends another text. I think you won. Has not gay. I reread the message twice, disappointment sitting heavy in me chest. How did she figure that out already? I mean, James Gabriel's sexual orientation has been the centerpiece of our ongoing debate for the better part of a year. And ironically, Kat was the one who was so certain he was gay, not me. That's why when it named him Dr. Gabrow's in the first place. It all started because Kat decided his perfectly groomed eyebrows were definitive proof. Yes, eyebrows. According to Kat Shiley scientific standards, no straight man would bother sculpting his brows unless it was just a quick cleanup of the unibrow situation. But Dr. Gabriel's brows? They were on another level, subtle, refined, just barely touched. Not overly plucked, mind you, but noticeably sculpted if you look closely. And in Kat's words, Nogi puts that kind of effort into his face unless he's trying to impress other guys. The absurdity of it all actually made me pretend to be mad at her once. You can't just call someone gay based on their eyebrows, Kat. I'd snapped, though secretly, I was entertained. The debate snowballed from there, evolving into what we dubbed the gay brows feud. It got so ridiculous that I started scouring my phone for pictures of every straight guy I knew, not a huge sample size admittedly, to try to prove her wrong. And, much to my dismay, I couldn't find a single example of a straight man with brows as sculpted as Dr. Gabrielle's. Kat, of course, never let me live it down. She even swore up and down that she had expertise because she used to do eyebrow shaping as a side hustle during med school. Trust me, I know gay brows when I see them, she'd said with smug authority. And frustratingly, I had to admit she had a point, but now? Now she's suddenly convinced he's straight? After one tipsy conversation at a Christmas party? The whole thing feels surreal, and honestly, I'm a little mad about it. I glance nervously at my phone, hoping for more details as it tried to focus on finishing my paperwork. I'm perched on the edge of a patient's bed, balancing an open folder on my knee, while the obscene amount of caffeine in my system makes my leg jittery and me thoughts race in circles. It's not exactly helping me finish faster. 10 minutes and several deep sighs later, I finally close the folder with a satisfying snap and bolt out of the room to hand it off to Kelly, the administrator. Once that's done, I'm officially free. I head straight to the changing room to ditch my lab coat, then make a pit stop in the bathroom to check myself in the mirror. My reflection stares back, hair slightly frazzled but fixable, face passable with a little adjustment. I smooth down my shirt, straighten me collar, and take a breath. Not perfect, but it'll have to do. Then, I'm practically sprinting toward the stairwell that leads to the basement. My anxiety is already whispering that James Gabrielle is the kind of guy to have one drink, make polite conversation, and ghost the party before anyone even notices Hugh is there. As I stumble into the basement conference room, my heart pounding so loudly I'm sure everyone can hear it, I'm immediately overwhelmed. The dim lighting and the sheer number of people make it feel impossible to find Kat in the crowd. I weave through the clusters of staff and tables piled high with buffet food, scanning faces like a lost kitten searching for its mother, and then I spot them. Kat and James are standing at one of the high-top tables, champagne glasses in hand, chatting like it's the most natural thing in the world. My heart plummets. Kat is unmistakably drunk, her hair is a ruffled mess, her cheeks flushed, her glossy eyes sparkling with tipsy energy. She's gesticulating wildly, mid-laugh, clearly in the middle of one of her dramatic stories. James, on the other hand, looks infuriatingly composed and impossibly attractive. He's wearing a sleek black shirt, sleeves rolled up just enough to show his forearms, his hair perfectly styled. His expression is neutral but attentive, and he exudes that kind of effortless cool that makes you question every decision you've made about your appearance today. I instinctively veer into a beeline toward them but hesitate as I get closer, unsure whether to approach or wait until their conversation wraps up. I slow my pace, trying to decide, when James suddenly looks up and locks eyes with me. My breath catches. He blinks, panic starts to rise in my chest. Now that he's seen me, there's no way to back out, no pretending I didn't just spot them. I have to go over there unless I want to confirm to the universe that I am exactly the swoony, awkward mess I'm trying desperately not to. As if on cue, Kat notices me, too. Her face lights up, and in her drunken enthusiasm, she starts waving like I'm a long-lost friend returning from war. Oh. And because she's Kat, she throws in some ridiculous eyebrow waggling toward James for good measure. The eyebrows, really, Kat? Just in case I needed any more reasons toish for spontaneous combustion, heat floods my face as I force myself to walk toward them, my feet dragging like they've turned to lead. My mind races, scrambling for something, anything, to say. Something smart, maybe even funny. What do you even say to someone you've already seen today? He, sunshine. Cat drawls, stumbling forward to throw her arms around me like we haven't seen each other in years instead of 3 hours ago. I cringe internally. Sunshine. I hate when she calls me that in front of other people. Ray is already a weird enough name. It sounds fine until you say it out loud and realize it literally means a beam of light. But now she's adding sunshine into the mix, and I just know everyone's going to assume we're sleeping together or something, because nobody at the hospital really knows I'm gay, except for Kat and Nadine, one of the nurses who's become a bit of a mother figure to me. I hug Kat back briefly, trying not to glance at James. The last thing I need is to see if he's looking or, worse, judging. Kat untangles herself from me and waves her champagne glass in James's direction, spilling a little on the floor. James and I were just talking about you. My heart skips a beat. James? Since when are they on a first-name basis? And wait, they were talking about me. As I approach the table, I finally let myself glance at Gabrielle. To my disappointment, he's not even looking at me, he's already checking his phone. Really? Am I so boring that he can't even say hello without needing a quick hit of dopamine? Hey, I say, forcing myself to sound casual. When he finally looks up, his eyes have that slightly dazed deer in the headlights look, cute, innocent, and somehow disarming. For a split second, I wonder if hey was too casual for a fellow to say to a senior attending. Panic flares. Hi, sir, I blurt out, tacking on the last word awkwardly. Oh God. The second it leaves my mouth, I realize how ridiculous it sounds. Gabrielle's eyes gleam with a flicker of amusement, and I can feel my face heating up to match the Christmas lights on the walls. It doesn't help that the guy looks like a damn Greek god, lean muscle showing just enough under his button-down, golden skin, and dark hair that falls slightly over his forehead, making him look like the lead in a cheesy rom-com. While I stand there, burning alive from the inside out, Gabrielle blinks at me, quirks a perfectly sculpted eyebrow, and says, "You can ditch the sirs while we're at the party, Ray." Okay, thanks, I mumble awkwardly, shoving my hands into me pockets. I try to calm down, to get a grip on my racing heart, but the sheer proximity of Gabrielle, especially without his lab coat, is doing something to me that's definitely worth a session with my therapist. What were you talking about? I ask, shifting my gaze to Kat and trying to sound nonchalant like my nerves aren't currently on fire. I was telling James that you just moved into your new apartment closer to the hospital, Kat says, swaying slightly as she leans against the table. No more hour-long commutes, I add, stretching my lips into that awkward, polite smile you give when passing a senior doctor in the hallway. 20 minutes now. You two live together? James asks, his tone casual, his expression neutral, except for a quick glance at Kat. No. Kat and I answer in unison, and I can feel my face heating up again. James nods, takes a small sip of his drink, and then his pager goes off. He glances at the screen, frowning slightly. "Excuse me," he says and steps away from the table without another word. I watch him disappear into the crowd, disappointment settling in my chest like a weight I can't shake. Shit, Kat mutters, downing the rest of her drink in one gulp. I thought this was your chance to finally talk to him. Whatever, I say, though the frustration in my voice betrays him. I know it's not Kat's fault that James Gabrielle doesn't care about me, and not the way I want him to, but it doesn't stop the sting. Maybe he'll come back, Kat says, though her tone isn't exactly convincing. I nod, even though I don't believe it either. Taking a deep breath, I push away the ugly flicker of jealousy I felt toward her earlier. Friends like Kat are rarer than sexy guys with brooding gazes and muscles for days. At least, that's what I tell myself. But there's still one question gnawing at me, making it impossible to fully let it go. Why did you say he's definitely not gay? I ask, trying to keep my tone casual and not like the needy, pathetic fangirl I absolutely feel like. Kat hesitates, looking slightly uncomfortable, before finally answering. He told me he was waiting for me when he came up. Wow. The balloon of disappointment in my chest grows so big it's hard to breathe. So, I was right. He's not gay. Who knows, Kat says, slinging an arm around my neck and planting a sloppy kiss on my cheek. There's still a chance he meant something else, sunshine. I sigh. I know she's just trying to make me feel better, but the truth is, it doesn't help much, I promise. If he's straight and tries anything with me, I'll tell him to go fuck himself, Kat says, her drunken determination making me laugh despite myself. You're the best, I say, my chest tight with a mix of guilt and gratitude. She really is the best, and here I am, feeling like a jealous, pathetic little loser. Ooh, I want to get hammered, I say, suddenly deciding the night is salvageable if it involves forgetting everything with alcohol. Kat's face lights up. Yes. I've been waiting for you to say that. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. It's 2 hours later, and I've had so much gin and tonic that me mouth tastes like I just made out with a rosemary and ginger flavored monster or something. Everything around me in the hospital basement is fuzzy, the lights and voices blending into a cozy drunken haze. Kat and I are camped out at a square table in the corner off the room, swapping residency stories. We both did residencies at different hospitals before landing here as fellows. Kat's throwing back shots of something questionable that she'll definitely regret tomorrow, but since she has the day off, she doesn't care. Me? I'm not so lucky. I don't have a day off. In fact, I'm on call tomorrow night, right on Christmas, not that it matters. I didn't have plans, so when Frog dangled double pay for holiday shifts, I signed up faster than I'd like to admit. I really need the money for new furniture, especially a bed. I can't sleep on the sofa much longer, or my back will give out now. As I sip what's left of my drink, I know my hangover is going to try to kill me tomorrow morning. But I should be fine by the time my shift starts at 8. Worst case, a couple of ibuprofen capsules will save me. Kat's in the middle of telling me about some massive crush she had during her residency at St. Clover's Memorial when I see him, James. Freaking. Gabrielle. His back. He just walked into the room and is heading straight for the drinks like a man on a mission. Kat, look, I hiss, tapping her shoulder and nodding toward him. His back. Who? Kat blinks at me, her drunken puppy dog expression all confused, but then her gaze locks onto Gabrielle. She nearly squeals as she turns to me. Yes. I told you he'd come back. You should go talk to him. I frown, taking an unnecessarily large gulp of my gin and tonic. Why? I slur. We've established he's not gay. Who cares? Go talk to him anyway. If he's straight, it's even better, you won't ruin anything. No pressure. That's how I usually get over my crushes, either I sleep with them or have a serious conversation and kill the fantasy. I shake my head firmly. Now I'm drunk, but the hollow pit in me stomach screams at me that it's a bad idea. I watch Gabrielle toss back a shot, then pick up another one. I'm so focused on him that I almost miss Kat's next words. I dare you, she says, her voice sly, now pick a number. My heart drops. No. She wouldn't. Then again, it's her turn, so she totally can. This is a game we play when we're bored. One of us says I dare you, pick a number, and the other has to open a randomizer app on their phone, which spits out a number between 0 and 7. That's how many dares the other person has to complete. If you refuse any of the dares, you owe the other person one wish, redeemable at any time, no exceptions. Oh, and one refusal equals one wish. I groan, purse my lips, and open the app, silently begging for a 0. I set the parameters, hit the button, and it's a 5. I groan louder as Kat leans over the table to peek at my phone, her face lighting up like she's just won the lottery. You're my bitch now, she cackles, giving me an affectionate slap on the back. Don't worry, sunshine, I'll be tasteful. Tasteful. Right. Whoever came up with this stupid game should be banned from society. But I know one thing for sure, when playing this game with Kat, it's always better to just do the dares, otherwise, she'll redeem the wishes at the worst possible moment. Fine, I say, clenching my jaw. Shoot. Kat's face lights up. I dare you to go ask Dr. Gabrow's if you works out. I nearly choke on my gin and tonic, laughter exploding out of me before I can stop it. Kat joins in, and for a few glorious minutes we're both laughing so hard my stomach starts to hurt. Somewhere in the middle of it, the absurdity of the situation hits me, and with it, a rush of reckless courage. Easy, I say, pushing myself to my feet. But as soon as I take a step, it's like the room tilts sideways, and I feel all the alcohol hit me at once. Shit. I'm way drunker than I thought. Not that it matters. That's a problem for tomorrow, Ray. I straighten my back, set my sights on Gabrielle, and start making my way across the room. I approach Gabrielle at one of the buffet tables, where he's loading up a plate with mini sandwiches and canapes. He doesn't notice me at first, so I stand there awkwardly, waiting for my moment. Hey, I say when he finally looks up. This time, the word feels natural, not forced. You're still here, James says, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. His tone is even but not unfriendly. I had to go check on none of the patients, Mr. Fisher. Straight to work talk. Of course. Well, it's better than awkward silence, the kidney guy. I ask, nodding, though I suddenly feel self-conscious. I'm way too drunk to be having this conversation, and he can tell if he notices. Yeah, Gabrielle replies, picking up a mini sandwich from his plate and taking a bite. He's determined to leave before Christmas, but I told him he can't unless he's ready to die in the comfort of his own home. His tone is dry, almost too casual, but it makes me smile despite myself. That's where you were for 2 hours. I say, the word slipping out before I can stop myself. God, why did I have to sound like I was keeping track of him? Yeah, Gabrielle says with a sigh, wiping his fingers on a napkin. But we gave him some painkillers, so he went to sleep. He can finally relax knowing he's not going to make another escape attempt. He already tried that once, didn't he? I ask, remembering something one of the nurses had mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Fisher isn't my patient, but his antics have made him something of a hospital legend. Gabrielle nods, his expression softening slightly. Yup. But naked and barefoot. The security guard caught him trying to make it through the metal detectors. I can't help but laugh, incredulous. And then I catch it, a shadow of a smile forming at the corners of Gabrielle's mouth. God, that smile. Gabrielle doesn't smile much. He's the brooding type, not quite Mr. Darcy's levels of brooding, but close enough to qualify. At least during work hours. Since I've never seen him outside of the hospital, I can count on one hand the number of times I've caught even a glimpse of that smile this past year. But now, it's there, faint but real, and it does something dangerous to me. It melts something in my chest, leaving me feeling soft, gooey, and a little sticky, like caramel left out in the sun.my phone buzzing snaps me out of the daze. I glance down and see a message from Kat lighting up the screen. Did you do it? Write me when it's done. I'm not a hardcore grammar purist, but the mix-up between it and it still makes my teeth ache when I look back up. Gabrielle is in the middle of devouring another sandwich. The way he opens his mouth, tilting his head back just slightly, shouldn't be that distracting. But, of course, my overworked, undersexed brain takes a hard left turn into very inappropriate territory. Suddenly, I'm not thinking about how to steer the conversation toward the whole working out dare. Instead, Mimind is spiraling into thoughts about what else he could do with that mouth. It's embarrassing how quickly my brain goes there, but honestly, I've been so horny these past few months that it's becoming a reflex. Between long shifts, sleep deprivation, and zero time to date, my sex drive has been turning even the most mundane moments into thirst traps. At this point, it's starting to feel like my superpower. I must have been blatantly staring at him because Gabrielle catches my gaze. He chews quickly, covering his mouth with one hand, and says, "Sorry, these sandwiches are really good. You should try them." At that moment, two brilliant ideas hit me. First, eating will help sober me up a little and cover for the fact that I was ogling him. Second, food is the perfect way to ease into the workout topic without sounding weird. I grab a sandwich and take a bite, trying to sound casual as I ask, "Do you work out?" I quickly add, "You seem to eat a lot, and you look great." Gabrielle smirks, a trace of humor flickering in his eyes. "Thanks. Yeah, I do. Do you?" "Yep," I say, shrugging with a self-deprecating smile. "Can you tell?" To my surprise, Gabrielle doesn't laugh or make a joke. Instead, he looks me over, his gaze briefly drifting to my arms and chest, his expression thoughtful. "Of course. You're in great shape," he says, his tone completely serious. The lack of sarcasm catches me off guard. There's no teasing in his voice, just calm sincerity, and for a moment, I forget how to respond. "Thanks," I say, feeling heat rush up my neck. To cover for it, I pull out my phone and quickly type a reply to Kat. Done. I can practically feel her eyes boring into the back of my head from across the room, watching like a hawk. But I don't dare turn around. For one, it would feel ridiculous, like I'm checking in with me mom or something. And, if I'm honest, there's another reason I didn't want to remind Gabrielle about her. Not when he hasn't brought her up himself. The hardest part for me is hitting my protein goal, Gabrielle says, snapping me out of my thoughts. I blink at him, a little caught off guard because I've been too busy lost in my own head and, of course, my brain instantly dives into the gutter. "I can help you reach your protein goal," it supplies helpfully, uninvited, but out loud, I manage to say, "Yeah, with the hospital schedule, I'm definitely not getting enough either." And then, because my brain apparently loves to torment me, it adds, "I could use your help." God, the combination of being really drunk and really horny is like Mentos and Coke. I need to sober up before I just climb Gabrielle like a tree. My phone buzzes again. I throw a quick glance at the screen. It's Kat again. "Hope you're not lying." Second dare, touch his arm. I almost roll my eyes. Great, just what I needed, figuring out how to touch him without looking weird or completely obsessed. Of course, it's at that exact moment Gabrielle says, "Or Doyle like eating out." I freeze, my alcohol-soaked brain turning to mush. Eating out? My mind spins out of control, veering into territory that absolutely shouldn't apply to this conversation. I take a deep breath, trying to get a grip. How did we jump to eating out before I can say something really, really embarrassing? Gabrielle steps closer. He repeats himself, louder this time, probably noticing my confusion. "I asked if you meal prep, eat in the hospital cafeteria, or if you like eating out." I blink, and my face burns so hot I'm sure it's glowing. "Great job, me." Now he's definitely caught the look on my face, that split-second flash of "Oh no, I was thinking about eating you out." And as if that isn't bad enough, he's standing so close now that I can catch his scent. It's clean, warm, and maddeningly manly, the kind of smell that could make you forget your own name. I need food. Real food. Immediately. Anything to keep the gin and tonic sloshing around inside me from hijacking my brain and forcing me to say something ridiculously horny. "I eat in the cafeteria mostly," I say, the words tumbling out, and immediately, I start overthinking them. Did that sound normal, not weird? Definitely not horny, right? To cover my growing panic, I add, "But I love eating out when I have time." That's when Gabrielle's meticulously groomed eyebrows shoot up, and I realize, too late, that I've oversold it. Nobody loves going out for lunch that much. My face heats up for what feels like the 10th time tonight, and in a desperate attempt to recover, I stammer, "But mostly the cafeteria." The cafeteria's good. For a second, I'm sure I catch the corners of Gabrielle's mouth twitch like he's trying not to laugh. His gaze lingers on me, and not judgmental, not impatient, just there like he's genuinely paying attention. And it's so disarming, so intense, that I feel my pulse quicken. Without thinking, I rush to the buffet table, grabbing another sandwich and stuffing it in my mouth as if carbs will save me from my own awkwardness. When I turn back, sandwich halfway chewed, Gabriel is still watching me. His expression is polite, patient, and oddly focused, like he's somehow amused by me without making me feel small. The way he's looking at me does something strange to my insides, twisting and flipping in a way that feels both thrilling and terrifying, because for the past year, Gabriel has been all professionalism, polite, efficient, and distant. Barely sparing me a glance unless it was about jaundice, cancer, or thyroid disease. And now? Now he's standing here, being so friendly it feels unreal. He can't screw this up, not even if he's straight, because it feels too damn good to have him look at me like this. Gabriel turns to the buffet table again, picking up a couple of pastries and placing them neatly on his plate. Then, without a word, he grabs a shot of something and downs it in one smooth motion. The way his throat moves as he swallows almost makes me choke on my sandwich. I glance away and spot Kat at our table in the corner, making a show of squeezing her bicep while gesturing wildly at me. Subtle as ever, Kat. I quickly turn back before Gabrielle notices her, too, and try to focus, so I say, trying to sound casual despite the nerves fluttering in my chest, how much do you really need to eat to have so much muscle? Without giving myself time to second guess, I reach out and wrap my hand around Gabrielle's bicep. It's firm, solid as a rock, and I let go quickly before it gets too weird. Gabriel blinks, clearly caught off guard, but before I can spiral into panic, he chuckles softly. The sound is low and warm, and me body practically melts on the spot. Oh God, a lot, he replies, a hint of a smile lingering on his lips. Then with a raised brow, he adds, "You're really drunk, aren't you?" My cheeks flare so hot I might as well be on fire. Of course he noticed. Why did I drink so much? I must have looked too eager, too thirsty, when I squeezed his arm. Now he probably thinks I'm a gay fanboy who wants to throw himself at him. God, why, lure, yeah, I admit, the words coming out in a groan. I want to vanish into thin air, anything to escape that all-knowing smile he's giving me. I must have had too many gin and tonics. But Gabriel doesn't seem fazed. Instead, he chuckles again and the sound makes my insides bubble like champagne. To be honest, I'd like to get drunk too, he says, his tone light, but, you know, I have to think about tomorrow. I nod, grasping at anything to keep the conversation going. Plans for Christmas. For a moment, Gabriel stiffens, and my heart sinks, convinced I've accidentally stepped into forbidden territory. But then his shoulders ease, and his expression softens. No, I'm on call tomorrow, actually, he says. No way, I blurt out, far too loud and far too fast. Me too. The words linger awkwardly between us, way too enthusiastic for casual conversation. My face burns as I instantly regret how they came out. If there's a hole anywhere in this hospital basement, I'd like to crawl into it now, but instead of looking annoyed, Gabrielle's eyes seem to twinkle slightly as they meet mine. Or maybe I'm imagining things. Either way, the look he's giving me sends a warm, tingling sensation over my skin. Really, he says, his voice dipping lower, more intimate. That'll be nice, actually. Usually, Christmas shifts are pretty quiet, but it's good to have some competent backup. Competent. The word feels meaningful, like a compliment he doesn't hand out lightly, and it slides through me as smoothly as the 7 gin and tonics I probably shouldn't have had earlier. And I swear he's standing closer now, though I couldn't tell you who moved. My phone buzzes, cutting into my thoughts, but I barely notice it, too caught up in Gabriel's proximity and the dizzying pull of his attention that seems to fill the space between us. When I finally glance down at the screen, it's Kat, of course. Nice job. Dare, make him drink 2 shots, I groan internally, but at least this one is manageable, and if I pull it off, I'll only have 2 dares left. The rules are clear, I can't refuse 2 dares in a row, and if I do skip one, I'm stuck with whatever comes next, no matter how awful. Knowing Kat, she's definitely saving the most humiliating dare for last, so I need to read carefully. The gin coursing through my veins fuels a reckless kind of courage. 2 shots are a lot, but with a bit of charm, it's doable even if a guy is dead set on not drinking before his shift tomorrow. I think I might ease off the cocktails, I tell Gabrielle with a smirk. You know, to stay competent tomorrow. But you, on the other hand, need to catch up. I pick up 2 shots from the table and hold them out to him, my eyebrows raised in challenge. To my surprise, he actually grins and takes them. All right, Dr. Hale, he says with a laugh, and I swear he's teasing me. Something in my chest melts at the sound of his voice saying Dr. Hale. Somehow, it doesn't sound like my name, it sounds like a term of endearment. And who is this guy? This open, laughing, warm version of Gabrielle is so different from the brooding doctor I've been low-key pining over for the past year. Broodmaster 2024, the one who stares through me like he's trying to incinerate me with his laser eyes, feels like a distant memory. I watch as Gabrielle downs the 2 shots, one after the other, with a surprising ease that makes my chest flutter. I can't help myself. I glance quickly toward Kat, who's sitting at the table, wide-eyed and slack-jawed, clearly stunned that I'm breezing through my diary so quickly. To be honest, Gabrielle is making this way easier than I expected. Usually, the dares feel like walking a tightrope over disaster, but tonight? He's the perfect guinea pig. I pick up 2 more shots from the table, mostly to show off for Kat, who's probably losing her mind over how bold I'm being tonight. With a quirked eyebrow, I hold them out to Gabrielle. 2 more. Gabrielle hesitates for a second, just a flicker, but it's enough for me to notice. Of course, even 5 shots in, his reliable doctor brain hasn't completely turned off. So, I lean in slightly, summoning every ounce of charm ahave. At this point, I don't even care how thirsty I might look doing this. You'll be fine, right? With those muscles, you must have a pretty high tolerance for alcohol. Gabrielle chuckles at that, his gaze flicking to mine with what almost looks like amusement. He picks up the shots with a small nod. I actually do, he says, his voice warm, before effortlessly downing both in quick succession. 10 seconds later, my phone buzzes, and this time, I can't quite suppress the smug grin spreading across my face. I already know what's waiting for me. You show off. I bite back a laugh, throwing another quick look at Kat. She's shastily typing something on her phone. Knowing her, the next dare is going to be 10 times worse. There's no way she's letting me win without a fight. Not that this game has actual winners or losers, but tonight, I'm definitely showing her who's the boss. Oh, Kat's still here, Gabrielle says, catching my glance and turning to look at her. He nods in her direction, offering a small wave. Shit. My stomach drops. Why did I have to ruin everything? We were having such a good time, and now it looks like I've ditched a friend for no reason. Of course, this means we'll have to go join her. That might not be the worst thing, if the dares stopped. But something tells me Kat won't let up, not even with Gabrielle sitting a foot away. Should we go join her? Gabrielle asks, as expected. I stammer, trying to keep my reluctance in check. Maybe. If you'd like. Sure, he nods, but before heading over, he loads his plate with more food. I grab 2 more shots from the table. Gabrielle glances at the shots and raises an eyebrow, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. Are you trying to get me drunk? I shrug, keeping my tone light. You said you wanted to. In truth, I'm hoping that whatever embarrassment awaits mine the next half hour will be easier to forget if Gabrielle has a little more alcohol in his system. As we cross the room, I notice a few curious glances from doctors and nurses and catch Chief Kermit's intrigued gaze. I can't blame them. It's probably the first time they've seen James Gabrielle this relaxed. It's like witnessing the aurora borealis in real life, rare, mesmerizing, and completely unexpected. We reach the small table in the corner, and as soon as Gabrielle sets his plate down, Kat springs up and wraps us both in a hug. Her movements are sloppy, and it's immediately clear she's much drunker than before. Her half-closed eyes and swaying stance confirm it. The worried friend in me kicks in, and I already know that as much as I'd like to stay in Gabrielle's company, I'll probably need to make sure Kat gets home safely, or at least call her a cab. Kat has a pretty good drunk navigation system installed in her brain. No matter how tipsy she gets, she can always find her way home. But still, I wouldn't want to let her go alone, even though she only lives a couple of blocks away. Hello, boys, Kat says as she drops back into her chair. I can already imagine how horrified she'll be tomorrow when I remind her that she not only hugged the intimidating Dr. Gabrow's but also called him a boy. I saw you downing some shots over there. I think Ray has a challenge to make me drunk, Gabrielle says with a faint smile, throwing a quick glance my way. I blush instantly because, God, he doesn't know how close Hayes with that guess. Kat, of course, laughs out loud. He's got a point, she says, grinning. Because you, sir, are a much better company when you've had ethanol. Loosen your prefrontal cortex a little bit. Gabrielle snorts at that, but he doesn't seem the least bit offended. He picks up a meat pie from his plate and starts eating, his movements casual, even graceful. Then I catch Kat's subtle attempt at nodding toward my phone on the table. I get the hint, pick it up, and as soon as I see what's written on the screen, my pulse quickens. Fourth dare, tell him you're gay. Well, shit. My heart pounds against my ribs, the thought of coming out. Oh, Gabrielle, equal parts terrifying and tempting. Tempting because some stubborn part of me refuses to accept the idea that Gabrielle isn't gay. Why would he be so nice to me otherwise? Yes, I know I'm delusional. But drunk me, powered by 7 gin and tonics, is the most irrational person to ever walk the earth. My tipsy brain argues that if I tell Gabrielle I'm gay, I might actually gauge his reaction and figure out if he is, too. And if he isn't, maybe I'll get a sense of how he treats gay people in general. But the risk? Oh, the risk? If I confess I'm gay and he isn't, then this entire conversation might come across as me hitting on him. And while that wouldn't be completely wrong, I really don't want him thinking I've been scheming all night just to make a pass at him. As Kat and Gabrielle laugh together, trying to guess what synth shots they just downed, I mull over my options. I could refuse the dare, but that means facing the final dare, which Kat can make as outrageous as her devious little mind can imagine. And worse, I wouldn't be able to skip it to her. What's the lesser evil here? I glance between Kat and Gabrielle, weighing my options. But then I notice the way they're laughing together and how at ease Gabrielle seems with her. It hits me like a bucket of ice water. He must be interested in Kat. I've never seen him act like this with any other woman at the hospital. He must really like her. For the sake of the dare, I could still go through with it, just tell him I'm gay and get it over with. But suddenly, the idea feels heavier, sharper, more personal. Vulnerability washes over me, an knot forms in my chest. I don't want Gabrielle to know I'm gay if he's straight. Not like this. It would only make me feel more exposed, more pathetic. Like some pining fool who thought for a second he had a chance. And that's the last thing I need. I quickly type back to Kat, no way. I'll take the wish on that one. Kat's phone, sitting on the table, lights up. She stealthily picks it up, not missing a beat in her conversation with Gabrielle. For someone as drunk as she is, she manages to type her response surprisingly discreetly: a chicken. Fine. You owe me one wish then. I exhale shakily. That I can handle. Although I already know I'll regret it when Kat cashes in her wish to drag me to her favorite bar, Bikers and Lumberjacks. A place where she picks up hairy men and I awkwardly play wingman while avoiding eye contact with the burly clientele. The music in the basement suddenly cranks up so loud it feels like the walls are vibrating. I turn to see who's messing with the volume and spot one of the resident doctors crouched in front of the sound system. The music is deafening, and I'm still looking over my shoulder when I feel Gabrielle lean in. I turn back abruptly, and for a moment, we're so close our faces are practically inches apart. The sudden proximity steals the air from my lungs, and my heart skips a beat. I'll go grab some more drinks, he says, leaning to speak directly into my ear, his voice carrying over the blaring music. His hand hovers lightly against my elbow as he asks, "Want me to grab you something?" I'm too taken aback by his closeness, by the casual touch that sets my skin tingling, to form a coherent response. I just shake my head, and Gabrielle nods before disappearing into the crowd. I watch him cross the room, my gaze lingering longer than I want to admit. My head feels dizzy, my pulse erratic, and I realize I suddenly feel very, very drunk, even though I haven't had anything to drink in at least 15 minutes. As soon as Gabrielle is out of earshot, Kat leans across the table, her voice cutting through the thrum of music as she practically shouts in my ear, "Okay, sunshine, I've got the last dare for you." "Shoot," I say, bracing myself for the inevitable disaster. "Last dare, kiss Gabrielle." I blink, my heart leaping into a free fall. For a moment, it's like the ground beneath me has vanished entirely. "Kat," I say, attempting to summon the most serious tone I can muster, "I can't kiss him." Kat laughs, completely unfazed, and squeezes my hand. "What's the big deal? You can give him a peck on the cheek or something. That would count, too." "We're not Europeans," I reply, frustration bubbling in my chest. "That would be extremely weird." Kat sighs, but she's clearly too drunk to put up much of a fight. "Fine," she says, waving it off like it's no big deal. I stop myself before my thoughts spiral any further. I glance at Kat, and it's clear she's barely holding on, her eyes drooping, her movements sluggish. Time to call it a night. I stand up and help her to her feet, steadying her by the elbow. "Let's go," I tell her gently. "Time to sleep, Callahan." Kat nods, leaning into my support as I guide her toward the exit. As we pass the buffet, I spot Gabrielle picking up 2 gin and tonics. For a brief second, I wonder if one of them is meant for me. As we walk past him, Gabrielle catches my gaze. His eyes flick quickly to Kat and then back to me, and I lean toward him to speak over the music. "I'll take her home," I say, my voice loud as I gesture to Kat. Gabrielle nods, leaning closer in response, his voice soft but clear. "Do you need help?" His lips are so close to my ear that the almost brush of them sends a shiver down my spine. God, his scent, clean, warm, intoxicating, is enough to make my head spin. "No," I reply firmly, raising my voice to cut through the noise. "We'll take a cab." But Gabrielle moves quickly, putting the gin and tonics down on the table. "I'll help you," he says, his tone leaving no room for argument. As the 3 of us exit the basement and take the elevator up, I force myself not to overthink what's happening. Gabrielle actually helping me feels incredible, and for once, I decide to let myself feel good about the fantasy in my head. I even push aside the thought that he might only be doing this for Kat. Tonight, I'm acclaiming this small victory. "I have a car," Gabrielle says as we ascend in the elevator, "and I feel pretty sober. But to be honest, I don't trust those shots 100%. I don't know what was in them, but they tasted kinda funny." I laugh, glancing at Kat, who is practically asleep on Miss Holder. Yeah, Kat can usually drink a lot, but those shots knocked her out. 10 minutes later, we're leaving the hospital and sliding into a taxi cab. We decided to leave our coats in the changing rooms upstairs since Kat actually fell asleep on the way out. It's inconvenient, but it also means Gabrielle and I will need to head back to the hospital afterward to pick our things up for tomorrow. I mark a mental note to grab Kat's coat and bag and bring them to her in the morning. As Kat and I slump into the back seat and Gabrielle takes the front seat by the driver, the car pulls away into the snowy night. The streets are buried under a fresh blanket of snow, and flakes are still falling, making the city look like a fairy tale. Despite the beauty, the cold creeps in. Sitting here in just my shirt, I suddenly feel like an idiot for leaving without my coat. When you're 30 years old, you should know better than this. It takes us 5 minutes to reach Kat's apartment building. We help her into the elevator and up to her 4th-floor apartment. I fumble with her key, one of the spares she gave me, and push the door open while Gabrielle waits outside, politely giving us space. Once inside, I carefully slip off Kat's hospital shoes, walk her into her bedroom, and put her into bed. She murmurs something incoherent before rolling over, and I quietly leave, closing the doors behind me. Gabrielle is standing right outside, patiently waiting. There's something about the way he watches me lock the door, his gaze curious and unhurried, like I'm doing something worth admiring, painting, maybe, or singing. It could be my overactive imagination, but the instant we're alone, the air between us shifts. The tension is almost tangible, stretching between us like a taut wire. I feel it in my chest, in my throat, and in the way my skin seems to buzz under his gaze. Ready? Gabrielle says, his voice low and suddenly husky. I turn around, startled, and almost bump into him. His nearness makes me shudder, and I can swear I feel the heat of his body, the pull of him, as if some magnetic force is drawing me in. God, I really, really want him. Yeah, I say, and as we walk toward the elevator in the narrow hallway, our shoulders brush. The contact sends a jolt through me, and suddenly my mind spirals, filling with vivid, borderline pornographic images, pushing him against the wall, kissing him hard, and then taking an Uber to my place where we'd fuck like rabbits until morning. Ray. Gabrielle's voice snaps me out of my fantasy, and I blink up at him, startled her. I say, disoriented. It's only then that I realize we're standing by the open elevator, Gabrielle nodding toward it, waiting for me to step in. I quickly move into the cabin, and he follows. Was it always this tiny? When the three of us were inside earlier, it didn't feel this cramped. But now, with just the two of us, it's suffocating in the best-worst way. We're standing so close, our chests nearly touching. My eyes flick to Gabrielle's collarbone peeking from the open collar of his button-down, and I try, desperately, to avoid ogling his broad chest and bulging muscles. God, I am too fucking horny for this, and the proximity is killing me. I feel drunk, but not from the alcohol. No, this is all him, his body, his scent, his ridiculous everything that's making my head spin. Should we go back to the party? Gabrielle asks. The way he looks down at me sets my pulse racing, and there's something in the way he asks that makes my mind whirl. Is he really just suggesting the party? Or is there something else in his voice, like we could skip it altogether and end up at his place, or mine? I suddenly feel a surge of boldness as I look up at Gabrielle and say, "Can you take me home?" In that moment, it feels like I've stepped outside myself, watching as though I'm the main character in some Christmas rom-com. Gabrielle's eyes meet mine, and I can see him thinking, processing what I just said. His gaze flicks down to my lips for the briefest second, and my heart leaps. He's going to kiss me, but before anything can happen, the doors behind him slam open with a loud bang, shattering the fragile moment between us. Gabrielle quickly says, "Sure," his voice steady, then turns away and walks out of the elevator. I follow him, my legs feeling like jelly. I can't tell if it's from the alcohol, the arousal, or some dangerous mix of both. As we step into the lobby, Gabrielle asks for my address. I tell it to him, my voice quieter than I intended, and now I can't help but wonder, are we doing what I think we're doing? Or is he just taking me home like a very responsible senior hospital staff member, always looking out for everyone? The car arrives in less than a minute, and soon, we're sitting in the back seat, quiet. I'm painfully aware of our shoulders touching, hyper-focused on every inch of him next to me. A small shiver runs through me, partly from the cold, and Gabrielle notices. "Are you cold?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. In the dim light of the car, I glance at him, and something about the way he's looking at me makes my pulse stutter. His eyes seem darker, pupils blown wide. He must be drunk, or maybe I am, because this feels too intense, too surreal. Yeah, I admit, squeezing my hands between my knees to arm them. I chuckle softly, trying to lighten the mood. Leaving the coats at the hospital was a bad idea. Before I can process what's happening, Gabrielle reaches out, takes both of my hands in his, and covers them with his own. His palms are warm, so warm, and the gentleness of the gesture leaves me completely stunned. I freeze, my breath catching, as my brain struggles to keep up. The way he's holding my hands like they're something precious makes the world tilt on its axis. My thoughts grind to a halt and I'm left with one conclusion: I must be drunk, passed out cold somewhere on the basement floor of the hospital, because there's no way this is real. It's intimate, almost erotic, the way he's holding my hands yet avoids looking at me. His gaze stays fixed downward as if he SSHY, and the quiet between us stretches, charged and heavy. For the entire ride to my apartment, we stay like this, my hands in his, neither of us daring to move or breathe too deeply. When the car finally stops in front of my building, Gabriel lets go, the loss of his touch too sudden. Without meeting my eyes, he opens his door and steps out. The wave of disappointment that crashes over me is so overwhelming I barely notice anything else, until the car drives off into the snowy night, and it hits me: Gabriel didn't stay in the cab. He left with me. Wait. My mind spins wildly. Did Kat get it wrong? Is Dr. Gabrow's actually gay? Could she have misconstrued everything? The questions buzz in my head like an alarm as I walk toward the building, Gabriel trailing 2 steps behind me, silent. I don't dare look at him, don't dare say a word. The moment feels as fragile as spun glass, and I'm terrified of shattering it. My breath comes faster as I open the door to my building, and we step inside. The warm air of the lobby feels electric, buzzing with something I'm afraid to name, and then the drunken horny demon in me, the one I've been trying to hold back all night, takes over. Without letting myself think, I turn, spin around, and push Gabriel against the wall. I see his eyes, wide, surprised, but there's no hint of protest. My hands find his chest as I rise onto my toes, and before I can talk myself out of it, my lips crash onto his. For one heart-stopping moment, everything freezes. Gabriel's lips are warm and soft against mine, and his body is solid beneath my hands. I feel his sharp intake of breath, the way his chest rises under my palms, and then, oh God, his hands are on me waist, pulling me closer. He kisses me back. The world tilts, spins, and then rights itself as Gabriel's mouth moves against mine, hungry and demanding. His grip tightens, his fingers digging into my hips as he draws me in, pressing me flush against him. I'm drowning in his warmth, his scent, the sheer intensity of him. My hands slide up to his shoulders, gripping tightly as he deepens the kiss. His tongue traces my bottom lip, and I open for him without hesitation, a needy sound escaping my throat. The noise seems to ignite something in him because suddenly he's sterning us, pinning me against the wall, and, God, his thigh is between my legs. Ray, he breathes against my mouth, and the sound of my name in that wanting voice nearly undoes me. His lips trail down my jaw, hot and insistent, and I can't stop the way my hips buck against his thigh. The instant I feel the friction, my arousal pressing into him, I lose all control. My cock is so hard it's painful, and I find myself grinding against him, desperate for more. Gabriel's gaze drops, his eyes glued to the way I move against his leg. For a moment, it's like he's caught in a trance, his mouth slightly open, his breathing uneven. The way he looks at me, at my bulging cock sliding against his leg, is so carnal, so primal, I can feel it in my bones. Let's go upstairs, I whisper in his ear, my voice shaking with need. Please, James. But the words snap something in him. Gabriel stills, his hands going slack on my hips. His eyes, so dark they're nearly black, close for a moment as he takes a deep breath. When he opens them again, something in his expression has shifted, cooled. I think it might be better if you go to sleep, he says softly, his tone unreadable. The words hit like a punch to the gut. I freeze, the rush of desire draining out of me in an instant. Mortification rises, hot and choking, as I replay everything in my head. Oh God! Did I just ruin everything? What if I read it all wrong? The kiss, the way he touched me, the way he looked at me. Maybe this was nothing more than a drunken experiment for him, something fleeting, meaningless. And here I am, grinding against him like a horny idiot who can't keep it together. I'm sorry, I stammer, stepping back quickly, my face burning. God, I'm so sorry, I'll see you tomorrow. Gabriel cuts me off, his voice still quiet but firm. His gaze lingers on me, conflicted, and there's something in his expression I can't decipher. For a moment, I think might say something else, but instead, he lets go of me completely and steps away without another word. He turns and walks out into the snowy night. I just stand there in the lobby, staring through the window. Ash disappears into the darkness. My chest feels hollow, the weight of my embarrassment crushing. What the hell was I thinking? I'm left with nothing but the ache of rejection and the bitter sting of my own stupidity. The next morning, I dread waking up even while I'm still sleeping. My brain is awake, dragging me toward consciousness against my will. Somewhere deep down, I already know something bad happened. The feeling lurks, heavy and unshakable, even before I am fully aware. It's my phone ringing that finally jerks me out of sleep. I squint against the winter sunlight spilling through the window, stabbing directly into my skull. My head pounds, my temples throb, and I grope blindly through the tangle of blankets, searching for the source of the noise. When I finally find my phone, it takes a full 10 seconds of fumbling and blinking to make sense of what's happening. Kat's name flashes on the screen. I groan and answer, pressing the finito my ear. Yeah. I rasp, my voice hoarse from sleep. Oh, good, you're finally up, Kat says, her voice far too chipper for someone who drank God knows how many questionable shots last night. That's definitely not the voice of someone recovering from a night of heavy drinking. Merry Christmas. What time is it? I frown, sitting upright and immediately regretting it as a fresh wave of nausea rolls over me. It's 1, she replies, and I catch the faint sound of some things sizzling in the background. Of course, she's cooking, probably her favorite hangover breakfast, avocado toast with 4 slices of fried bacon. What happened last night? I totally blacked out after you and Dr. Gabrow's came over. How did I get home? And where are my things? The moment the questions hit, there's no avoiding it. The memories crash over me like a tidal wave. The drunken make-out session with Gabriel in my apartment building floods back in vivid detail, his hands, his mouth, the way I practically climbed him like a tree. Oh God. My stomach churns, and for a moment, I'm genuinely afraid I'm going to be sick. Are you there? Kat's voice pulls me back, sharp with curiosity, and I realize I've been silent for way too long. Give me a moment, I mutter, closing my eyes. My head is spinning, the hangover combining with mortification into a nauseating swirl of regret and dizziness. Are you that hungover? Kat asks, genuine concern breaking through her voice. Yeah, I mumble, wishing the pounding headache would ease up even slightly. You should take an ibuprofen, Kat suggests, but the thought of swallowing anything right now is enough to make my stomach turn. I know I'd just throw it right back up. I can't, I mutter, breathing heavily through the nausea. You're on call today, right? Kat asks, and I hum in response, unable to muster actual words. Okay, then. I'll come over with hangover breakfast, and you'll be good as new. I don't even have the energy to protest or ask how she plans to get here without her coat before she hangs up. For the next 15 minutes, I just lie there on my sofa, trying not to think about Gabrielle, or anything else, really. I focus on the colorful spots dancing behind my closed eyelids, willing the room to stop spinning. I don't move until I hear keys jingling in the lock and the sound of my door opening. Kat already has a spare key to my new apartment, and I'm thankful she does. I don't think I could have dragged myself to the door if I tried. I hear her bustling around in the hallway, kicking off her shoes and making her way into the living room, completely empty except for the sofa I'm currently sprawled on like a tragic medieval heroine dying of tuberculosis. Oh, baby, Kat says, her voice dripping with concern when she sees me. You look horrible. I know, I mumble, squinting at her with one eye open. The room is far too bright for both eyes to deal with. I brought you breakfast, she announces, jingling a paper bag in front of my face. The smell of food wafts toward me, bacon and avocado, and nausea immediately rises to my throat. I can't, I croak, shaking my head weakly. But Kat never takes no for an answer when it comes to her legendary hangover cures. She crouches in front of the sofa, pulling a Tupperware container out of the bag and popping off the lid. She's even brought a fork, and before I can object, she's already scooping up a piece of bacon and avocado and aiming it at my mouth. I consider resisting for half a second, but I don't have the strength, so I let my mouth fall open and take the food in. I chew reluctantly, praying I won't get sick. To my surprise, the moment the food hits my stomach, the nausea ebbs just a little. Within half a minute, I feel, not great, but noticeably less like death. God, I can't believe this actually works. For the next 10 minutes, I eat the breakfast bit by bit, each bite making me feel marginally better. Meanwhile, Kat moves around the apartment, rummaging through boxes in search of ibuprofen and a glass. Most of my stuff is still packed, so it takes her a while, but she eventually finds both. She pours me some water and hands me the pill, her face a picture of determination. I swallow it gratefully, leaning back against the sofa cushions as I let out a deep sigh. "You're the best," I mutter, meaning every word. Kat grins and plops down on the arm of the sofa, giving Miss Holder a gentle squeeze. "I know." Oh. And on that note, she digs into her bag and pulls out a can of Coke Zero Decaf, the one she knows I love so much I never start a day without it, and hands it to me. "I love you," I mutter, taking the cold can and pressing it against my temple. The chill feels like pure salvation. "Now tell me what happened last night," Kat says, still perching on the arm of the sofa. There's a hint of impatience in her voice, the kind that tells me she already knows something happened. Kat has a sixth sense for sniffing out my secrets. So I tell her, skipping any preamble. "I kiss Gabrielle." Her jaw drops so fast it's like a coin slot in a piggy bank. "You did what?" I nod, opening the can of Coke and taking the first healing sip. The carbonation burns in the best way as I add, "We both got drunk, and after we delivered you to your place, he came with me, Tommen. And I sort of kissed him when we entered the building." "You kissed him?" Kat's eyes go so wide and round I'm immediately reminded of that old Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale, the one with the toad who had eyes the size of saucers. "Was it Thumbelina?" "Yeah," I say, and though the memory of how last night ended still stings, I can't keep the smile off my face. Just for now, before Kat finds out about the disastrous conclusion. "Do you remember that you actually dared me to kiss him?" "I? Dared you?" Kat's surprise is so genuine it hits me. She was absolutely hammered last night. For a split second, my sleep-deprived, hungover brain spirals into a wild theory about those mystery shots messing with her memory while also coaxing Gabrielle into exploring his secret homosexual fantasies. "Yep," I reply with a smirk, taking another big gulp of my Coke. God, it tastes so good it almost makes me forget how mortifying last night was. "So what happened? What did he do?" Kat presses, her impatience growing as I don't rush to spill the rest. "He kissed me back," I say, and before I can get another word in, Kat lets out a triumphant shriek. "I told you he has gay eyebrows," she shouts, her face lit up like she's just won the lottery. I snort, rolling my eyes. First of all, I start, giving her a mock-annoyed look, saying you can detect a gay person just by their eyebrows is kind of homophobic. "It's not." Kat insists, her voice tinged with mild exasperation. "All it says is that straight guys are pigs, nothing else." I laugh out loud at that, the sound shaking off some of my lingering tension. But then I sober up, realizing I need to finish the history before her fantasy spirals completely out of control. "I can't dwell on what didn't happen any longer. Actually," I say, pausing to let the words sink in, "I don't think he's gay." Kat's brow furrows, her face scrunching up in confusion. "Then why the fuck would he kiss you back?" I shrug. "Who knows?" But when things got a little steamy, he suddenly let me go and said he needed to leave. I try to keep my tone neutral, but I know Kat can see the disappointment in my eyes. "How steamy?" she asks, her voice suddenly serious, Leakish piecing together evidence for a case. Well, I mutter, feeling my cheeks flush. He, looked at me, rubbing my cock against his leg. Cat lets out a loud pffft, and I can't help but laugh at the ridiculousness of the situation. How did you get to that? She asks, completely flabbergasted. Then her eyes narrow. Wait, did you have your pants on? I laugh even harder, my face burning now. Of course I did. I didn't know, we were just in the moment with the whole making out thing. Cat bites her lip, her expression deadly serious, as if she's trying to solve a complicated puzzle. So he let you grind against him and then just left? Yes, I say, sighing. She frowns even deeper, her brows knitting together. How drunk was he? I shrug again. I don't know. He seemed fine to me. Plus, he told me he has a high tolerance for alcohol, so I assumed he was pretty sober. I pause, debating whether to tell her my theory about the funky shots they both had, but decide against it. It feels too much like a tinfoil hat conspiracy. Cat drawls, clearly deep in thought. How involved was he? In the making out? Pretty involved, I admit, my voice quiet. And how drunk were you? Well, apparently drunk enough to completely misread the situation, I say with a self-deprecating chuckle. We fall into silence, both lost in thought, stealing glances at each other. The fact that Cat isn't immediately launching into a passionate argument about how this proves Gabrielle is gay feels like a warning sign. If anything, it suggests she might think I'm being a bit delusional about the whole thing, and that thought stings. After what feels like forever, I finally say, he's on call today. I didn't know how I'm supposed to look him in the eyes. The embarrassment washes over me all over again, fresh and overwhelming, and I bury my face in my hands. Cat stays silent, shaking her head slowly, and that's when it hits me, I'm completely screwed. My shift starts at 8, and I know Gabrielle's does, too, so I arrive at the hospital 2 hours early. The place feels half empty, most of the staff are at home celebrating Christmas, as are the less serious patients. Only the essential personnel from each department are here tonight. The whole building buzzes with a kind of Christmas serenity, quiet, peaceful, with soft music playing at the nurse's station, Mariah Carey, of course. It creates an almost cozy, festive vibe, and I can already tell this is going to be a laid-back shift, thank God. I'm feeling much better now, the hangover is gone, replaced with a nervous energy that keeps me sharp. Maybe I can find somewhere to hide and lay low to avoid Gabrielle entirely. The first thing I do is head to the changing rooms to get ready, hoping to avoid any chance of running into him later. I'm extra cautious as I open the door, peeking inside. The light is off and the room is bathed in deep blue shadows from the windows. I didn't see anyone else inside, so I let out a sigh of relief and step in. But as I walk down the narrow corridor and round the corner, I collide with something, or rather, someone. Big, warm, and very shirtless, and because life has a very twisted sense of humor, that shirtless someone is, of course, none other than James Gabrielle. He's wearing earbuds, which explains why he doesn't hear me coming before we collide. He jerks back slightly, pulling the earbuds out so they dangle around his neck. Ray. Gabrielle says, his voice surprised, while I stand there desperately trying not to combust from sheer embarrassment. Sorry, I mumble, my face blazing. I thought I was alone. My eyes dart everywhere but at him because I can't bring myself to meet his gaze, and I definitely can't look at his bare chest, which I already kind of did. It's all lean muscle and golden skin, still slightly damp from what must have been a recent shower. He doesn't look hungover in the slightest, like he emerged from last night's chaos untouched, while I'm barely held together with my calf coke and sheer willpower. I came early too. I trail off, realizing I don't actually have a prepared excuse. I obviously can't tell him I came early to avoid him. Me too, Gabrielle says quickly, then clears his throat and adds, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, I stammer, the words tumbling out awkwardly. Gabrielle nods, his face blank, and then turns to his locker, giving me a view of his back that does absolutely nothing to steady me already faltering composure. I shuffle awkwardly toward my own locker, trying to maintain what feels like a safe distance, which is ridiculous, considering less than 24 hours ago, I had his tongue in my mouth. And then he watched me rub my very hard cock against him. The silence stretches between us, thick and unbearable. I fumble with my combination lock, getting it wrong twice because my hands won't stop shaking. The metal clangs loudly in the quiet room, making me wince. I stall for as long as I can, unwilling to undress in front of him, but I can sense Gabrielle is stalling too. Eventually, though, there's no avoiding it, and I start changing. As I pull off my shirt and slip on my scrubs, I can feel Gabrielle's eyes on me, a sensation that sets my nerves on fire. When I'm finally dressed, I steel myself for what I know I have to do and turn to face him. About last night, I begin, but my voice comes out embarrassingly high-pitched. In the dim light, I see Gabrielle freeze, his shoulders going rigid. I look away and force myself to keep going, knowing this needs to be said. I'm really sorry for kissing you. That was poor judgment on my part. I was really, really drunk and I didn't know what I was doing. It's a lie, every word of it, but I need to make things right between us. I glance up at Gabrielle, but in the poor lighting, his expression is unreadable. Really, really drunk, I add, just to hammer it home. Gabrielle runs a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I've never seen from him before. We both were, he says quickly, his perfectly groomed eyebrows drawing together in what looks like regret. I'm your superior, and you're right, it was completely inappropriate, and, yeah, I cut him off, unable to bear hearing him list all the reasons why kissing me was a terrible idea. I falter, swallowing hard, the words sticking in my throat. But then I force it out. Forget it happened. I mean, we were both drunk, it was Christmas Eve, and yeah. Something flickers across Gabrielle's face, too quick for me toping down. But before I can dwell on it, his expression smooths into that familiar professional mask. Right, he says, his tone clipped. That would be best. I turn back to my locker, blinking rapidly to fight the sting in me eyes. God, I'm pathetic. Behind me, I hear Gabrielle finish getting dressed, the rustle of fabric painfully loud in the oppressive silence. I'll see you at rounds, Dr. Hale, he says finally, his voice carefully neutral. I nod jerkily, unable to turn around, waiting until I hear his footsteps retreat down the hall and the door close behind him before letting out a shaky breath. Then I lean forward, pressing my forehead against the cool metal of my locker. Fuck, I whisper, closing my eyes. This is going to be the longest shift of my life. It's 4 hours later, and Gabrielle and I have just finished our rounds in the ICU. The whole thing was very professional on both our parts. Meaning, awkward. I made a concerted effort to keep my distance, but when our elbows inevitably brushed, I felt an electric shock pass through me every single time. I've been watching Gabrielle closely, and he seemed just as careful about not invading me personal space, though that didn't always work out. Case in point, Mr. Dodger. The man suddenly decided he was feeling great, got out of bed, and promptly collapsed on me. Gabrielle rushed to help, and together we managed to wrestle the protesting man back onto the mattress. By the time we were done, both of us were sweaty and thoroughly disheveled, which only added to the tension hanging between us. When the ICU rounds are finally over, we head back to the changing rooms. The hospital's policy is clear: after working in their ICU, a shower and scrubs change is mandatory. As we walk down the corridors, my brain spins chaotically, trying to figure out a way to avoid going into the locker rooms with Gabrielle. Because that would mean taking a shower next to him. Which, given the events of last night, couldn't possibly be more awkward. I consider making up an excuse and slipping off to a changing room on another floor, but that would only make it obvious how uncomfortable I am, and how badly I want to avoid this situation. So when we walk into the changing rooms, I feel like a lamb being led to slaughter. I feel Gabriel sneaking quick glances at me the entire time, but the moment we open our lockers, he turns away and swiftly sheds his scrubs. I stand there, frozen, watching as he stands completely naked. My eyes betray me, tracing the sharp lines of his etched muscles and smooth skin, and then he turns. His gaze locks onto mine, catching mid-handed, blatantly ogling him. I whip around so fast I nearly give myself whiplash, my face burning for two excruciating reasons. Number 1, he catches mestering, and number 2, I get a glimpse of his cock. His very big, very aroused cock. My mind spirals out of control, thoughts galloping like a runaway horse. I quickly peel off my own scrubs, my hands fumbling, and hear Gabriel walk into the shower room. I stand there for a moment, trying desperately to collect myself, before grabbing my towel and following him, my heart pounding so loudly it drones out every other sound in my ears. The shower room is thick with steam, turning everything into a hazy, dreamlike blur. Through the mist, water cascades down Gabriel's back, tracing the lines of his muscles and gathering at the curve of his spine before slipping lower, disappearing down the perfect slope of his ass. I try not to stare, but it's impossible not to notice the way the water clings to his skin, making it gleam. My heart pounds as I step into the stall next to him. The silence between us is deafening, broken only by the rhythmic sound of water hitting tile. As I quickly lather myself with shower gel, Gabriel's presence feels like a physical weight, every nerve in my body tingling with awareness. I risk a glance in his direction and catch him watching me, his gaze intense, making my breath hitch. The steam wraps around us, isolating us from the rest of the room, making everything feel close and unbearably intimate. I'm hyper-aware of how Gabriel's body is slightly angled toward me as if he's about to say or do something. For minutes, we wash insolence, rinsing away the sweat and tension of the ICU. Then, his shower shuts off. A wave of disappointment crashes over me, but I quickly turn away, pretending not to notice. My heart sinks as I brace myself for the sound of his footsteps retreating, but instead of leaving, he moves closer. My breath catches and I slowly turn, my pulse pounding, to find him standing at the edge of my stall. Water drips from his chest, tracing the defined lines of his muscles, his dark eyes fixed on me with a focus that makes me stomach flip. I wasn't really drunk, Gabriel says, his voice low. There's something resigned in his eyes, like he's already bracing for the fallout, whatever that might be. The steam drifts between us, softening the harsh fluorescent light into something unexpectedly intimate. My breath hitches. I stare at him, my mind struggling to process his words. I'm in love with you, Ray, he says, his tone quiet but firm, like he's finally letting go of something that's been weighing on him for too long. The words hit me like a jolt to the chest, making my heart stutter and race so fast it feels like it might burst. His gaze locks onto mine, unwavering. I have been, for the whole damn year. My chest tightens as I try to make sense of it, to reconcile the Gabriel standing in front of me, unguarded and vulnerable, with the composed, distant man I thought I knew. The man who's been impossible to read, impossible to reach. My voice cracks. I don't even know where to begin. The intensity of the moment is almost too much, my heart pounding so hard it's making me lightheaded. Gabriel doesn't move, doesn't look away. I wasn't going to say anything, he admits, his voice quieter now, tinged with something raw and unsteady. I decided that a while ago. I wasn't going to say anything, maybe not ever. But after, he hesitates, his jaw tightening before he continues. After kissing you, and realizing you might actually want me, I couldn't keep lying to myself. I can't keep pretending. His gaze sharpens, his voice breaking slightly with desperation. I thought I could push it down, bury it, but being near you, it's unbearable. It's driving me insane. He blinks. I know it's unprofessional. I know I shouldn't feel this way. But I can't stop. His hold mine, his voice strained. Every time I see you smile, watch you run your hands through your hair, or catch you biting your lip when you're concentrating. It drives me out of my mind. Oh, I say, my thoughts a jumbled mess. He steps closer, filling the shrinking space between us until the proximity is almost unbearable. Last night, he continues, his voice dropping to a whisper, I wanted you so badly. But you were drunk, and I wouldn't let myself take advantage of you. His words hang between us, heavy and unflinching, each one hitting like a sharp tug in my chest. And then, as if something snaps, the control in his voice fractures. But fuck, Ray, he breathes, stepping closer, his chest brushing against mine. I wanted to. His voice drops lower, barely audible, each word cutting through the silence. I wanted to fuck you so badly it hurt. And when I left, all I could think about was how much I wanted to make you come, how much I wanted to feel you lose yourself in my hands. My knees threatened to buckle, his voice hitting me like a live wire, electrifying every inch of me. His gaze burns into mine, searching, like he's trying to read my mind. Then fuck me, I breathe, taking his hand in mine, my voice unsteady but determined. Make me come because, fuck, I've wanted you since the first moment I saw you. The words hit him hard, I see it in the sharp hitch of his breath, the slight parting of his lips. I tug him into my stall, and he steps in, closing the space between us. But before I can do anything else, his hand cups my cheek, anchoring me in place. Tell me you want this, he murmurs, a plea threading through his voice. Tell me you really want me, and I won't hold back. His gaze is relentless, searing into my skin, and my cock throbs in response. I don't hesitate. With trembling hands, I loop my arms around his neck and whisper, the words spilling out with a courage I didn't know I had, I really, really want you to fuck me. To be mine. The surprise flashes in his eyes for a heartbeat before something darker and hungrier takes over. His hands are on mine instantly, gripping my waist and pulling me tight against him, his body hard and unyielding, and then his mouth crashes into mine, fierce and consuming, leaving my body weak and pliant in his hands. There's nothing slow or tentative about this, it's raw, urgent, a release of months' often-spoken desire. His teeth catch my bottom lip, tugging just enough to make me gasp, and then his tongue claims me, sweeping into my mouth. I clutch at his shoulders and his back, desperate to hold on to feel as much of him as I can. His cock, hard and insistent, presses against my hip as his hands slide down to grab my ass, pulling me flush against him. His grip is possessive, leaving no space between us, no question about what he wants. Fuck, he growls against my mouth, breaking the kiss just long enough to breathe. You have no idea how long I've wanted to fuck you. To feel you. God, he lets out a low, breathless laugh. I'm glad you can't read my mind, because if you knew the things I've imagined doing to you during hospital rounds, all the ways, in every fucking place, each word is punctuated by a thrust of high ships, his cock grinding against my thigh like a promise of everything he's about to do to me. I can't speak, can't even think straight. My chest heaves, my cock throbbing painfully, as I grip him tighter, clinging to the solid heat of his body. Then don't stop, I whisper, my voice barely audible over the sound of my own pounding heart. Please, James. His name has an immediate effect. Gabriel doesn't hesitate, his hand slides between us, and before I can fully process it, his fingers close around my cock. The contact is electric, sending a bolt of pleasure so sharp it nearly knocks the air out of me. My knees threaten to give out, and I clutch at his shoulders for support, my breath coming in shallow gasps as his grip tightens. He strokes me slowly, teasing and torturous all at once, drawing out every ounce of need until I'm trembling against him. Fuck, I breathe, my head tipping back against the warm, slick tile. The steamy cascade of water pouring over us blends with the heat of his touch, intensifying every sensation until it's almost too much. You're so hard for me, Gabriel whispers, his voice raspy and close against my ear. His lips kiss the side of my neck before his teeth graze over the sensitive skin. I shudder, a helpless whimper escaping me, and the sound only seems to spur him on. He presses closer, his body pinning me firmly to the wall. His strokes grow more intense. His thumb circles the head of my cock, spreading the slickness. Every touch is measured, controlled, like he's savoring the way I'm falling apart in his hands. "James," I moan, my voice breaking as his teeth sink lightly into my neck again, the pressure enough to make me gasp. He follows it with the warm slide of his tongue, soothing the sting, on little nip at me again, his mouth leaving a trail of fire across my skin. "Hearing you moan like that, fuck, Ray, you don't know what you're redoing to me," he growls, his voice rough with need. I moan helplessly and close my eyes as his hand moves faster, his strokes leaving me shaking. My hips jerk into his grip, wanting more, the sensation building so quickly it feels like I'm losing control. His other hand slides down my back to grab my ass, supporting me as my legs threaten to buckle entirely. "Look at me," Gabriel commands, his voice thick with authority and want. My eyes flutter open, and when I meet his gaze it nearly undoes me. His eyes are dark, his pupils blown wide, his lips parted as he watches me unravel beneath him. "You're so fucking beautiful like this," he says, his voice low, almost reverent. His grip tightens just enough to draw a choked cry from me, the sound echoing in the stillness of the room. His mouth returns to my neck, and I arch into him, nails digging into his shoulders as my moans spill out, unrestrained and frantic. "James," my voice breaks as the pressure inside me builds unbearably, every nerve wound tight. "Come for me," he pleads against my skin, his voice a soft, commanding rasp. His hand moves faster, his thumb pressing just right, every stroke precise and devastating until I can't hold back anymore. I cry out, my body convulsing as the pleasure tears through, my release spilling hot over his hand. He doesn't stop right away, his strokes easing only as the tremors subside, leaving me spent and trembling, every nerve alight with the aftershocks of pleasure. Gabriel leans in, his forehead pressing gently against mine, his breathing as ragged as my own. His hand cradles me with a tenderness that feels at odds with the intensity of everything that just happened, like he's afraid I might shatter. "You're incredible," he says, his voice soft but unshakably certain. I manage a weak nod, my body still trembling, my mind a whirlwind as I close my eyes again, trying to process what just happened. But then his lips find mine again, slow and unhurried, and in that moment, I know one thing for sure: I don't want this to end. The warm tile presses against my back as I try to catch my breath, my chest rising and falling. Every nerve in my body still hums with the aftershocks of my orgasm as I open my eyes, and when I meet his gaze, I see the want still smoldering there. Then I notice it, his still hard. His cock, thick and flushed, glistens in the humid light. For a moment, I freeze, my cheeks flushing at the sight of him. But then, like a flicker of fire catching on dry wood, courage sparks inside me. The memory of how he touched me, how his voice sounded when he fell apart, fuels me. My lips part, and I hear my voice, even despite the pounding of my heart. "Do you want to come in my mouth?" His eyes darken, and he groans, deep and guttural, like my words have snapped whatever fragile hold he had on his control. "Fuck, Ray," he growls. "You don't know what you're asking." But I do. I know exactly what I'm asking. Slowly, I sink to my knees, my heart pounding in my chest as I look up at him. The way he's staring at me like I'm the only thing in the world, his chest heaving, his cock so close, flushed and glistening. With trembling hands, I reach out, my fingers wrapping around him. He's so hot, so heavy in my grip, and Gabriel hisses sharply, his whole body tensing as I stroke him. The sounds he makes, those low, wrecked groans and whispered curses, send a thrill through me. I lean in, my lips sliding against the swollen tip, and he lets out a gasp, sharp and shaky like he's barely holding himself together. I glance up at him, and the sight of his face, his blazing eyes, his parted lips, makes my pulse thunder in my ears. I part my lips and take him into my mouth, swirling my tongue over the sensitive head as he wraps his own hand around the base of his cock, guiding himself in. His other hand flies to my hair, his fingers tangling in the damp strands as he groans, "Fuck, Ray." His voice is wrecked, his hips jerking slightly as I take him deeper, swallowing him down. The weight of him, the taste of him, the desperation of his hand gripping my hair, it's overwhelming in the best way. I slide my lips down his length, my tongue pressing firmly against their underside, and he curses again. Fuck, he growls as I find a rhythm, bobbing my head, hollowing my cheeks with each motion. You're so fucking good at this. His words send a jolt through me, and I hum around him in response, the vibration pulling another sharp groan from him. I push myself further, taking him even deeper, my throat relaxing as I swallow more of him. His cock throbs against my tongue, and I feel the tension coiling in his body, his muscles taut under my hands as I grip his thighs. Ray, he breathes, his voice breaking, torn between warning and desperation. You're gonna make me, fuck, I'm going to. I don't stop. I take him deeper still, my hands sliding to high ships to keep him steady as he bucks against my mouth. His head tips back, his fingers tightening in my hair, and the moan that escapes him is almost guttural, echoing in the steamy room. When he comes, it's with a shuddering groan, his release hot and pulsing in my mouth. I swallow it all, my hands holding him as his body trembles. I keep going, my tongue moving gently until he's completely spent. Finally, I sit back on my heels, my eyes lifting to meet his as I wipe my lips, waiting for him to come back to reality. Gabriel stares down at me, his chest rising and falling as trying to catch his breath. His expression is unreadable at first, then softens as he reaches out, his fingers brushing over my cheek in a way so tender it nearly undoes me. Ray, he says, his voice raw. You're fucking incredible. The shower is quiet except for the rhythmic patter of water against the tile. Neither of us speaks as we rinse off, the water washing away the evidence of what just happened. Our touches linger, his fingers grazing my shoulders, my hands finding his waist. It's quiet, unspoken, and achingly intimate. When we step out into the changing room, we dry off insolence, Gabrielle's gaze lingering on me in a way that makes me blush. There's something unspoken in the space between us, but neither of us is ready to break it. Not yet. As the shift picks up again, the hospital settles into its late-night rhythm, quieter than usual in the calm of the Christmas lull. Gabrielle and I fall into step like always, our movement seamless, the kind of partnership forged through months of working together. But now, every glance, every accidental touch feels different, deliberate, intentional. A couple of hours later, as I jot down notes on a patient chart, I glance up and catch Gabrielle looking at me. It's not the quick, professional glance I'm used to, it's smoldering like he's sundressing me right here in the hallway. My breath stutters and my pulse kicks up as his gaze lingers for a beat too long before he turns back to his work, the corner of his mouth tugging into a small, knowing smirk. Another hour passes in a blur of patient rounds and quiet conversations with the night staff. By the time the clock reads past 1 a.m., the hospital has settled into a rare calm. I'm perched at the nurse station, finishing paperwork, when I hear the soft scuff or footsteps. Gabriel leans in beside me, close enough that the warmth of his breath tickles my ear. I want to fuck you, he says, his voice rough. My pen slips from my fingers, clattering onto the desk. My head snaps up, locking onto his gaze, but he's already straightening, his expression cool and composed, as though he didn't just drop a line that my overactive, horny brain will replay on a loop for weeks to come. Without another word, he turns and walks away, leaving me frozen for half a second before my legs move on autopilot, trailing after him. My heart pounds in my chest, and I can only pray Julia, the 60-year-old nurse on call tonight, didn't notice the way my cheeks flamed as I hurried to keep up. We slip into the empty on-call room, the soft click of the door shutting behind us, cutting off the muted sounds of the hospital. The room is dim, lit only by the faint glow of a bedside lamp that casts warm, flickering light. Gabriel turns to face me, his eyes dark, burning with intent. From his pocket, he pulls a small bottle of lube and a pack of condoms. The sight makes my breath hitch, heat pooling low in my belly. Gabriel steps closer, his hands tangling in my hair as his mouth crashes into mine. The kiss is hungry and consuming, yet beneath the urgency lies a tenderness, as if he's savoring every moment we have. God, I want you, he says against my mouth, his voice thick with desire. His hands slide down to my waist, pulling me firmly against him. The solid warmth of his body radiates through our shirts, every point of contact igniting a primal need. His fingers make quick work of undressing me, and I shiver under his touch, my breath catching when I'm finally naked before him. His gaze travels over me dark and intense, like he's memorizing every inch. "So beautiful," Hugh whispers, the reverence in his tone making my heart skip. He undresses himself next. I can't look away as more of him is revealed, lean, sculpted muscle, his entire body breathtaking when he's fully bare. His cock is already painfully hard again, and the sight sends a fresh wave of desire through me. Gabriel steps closer, pressing his forehead to mine. "Tell me if you want me to stop," he says. I nod, unable to find my voice. God, I want him to wreck me, to slam me down and fuck me senseless. He guides me to the small bed, helping me lie back. Then peppers a generous amount of lube onto his fingers, warming it between his hands before pressing a soft kiss to my inner thigh. His touch is slow and careful as he slides one slick finger along my entrance, teasing, before gently pressing in. I let out a soft gasp at sensation, my body adjusting as he moves with care. "Relax," he murmurs, his free hand caressing my thigh. "Let me make you feel good." I nod, exhaling shakily as he starts to move his finger, sliding in and out in a rhythm that's both soothing and electrifying. When he adds a second finger, the stretch stings slightly, but the way he watches me, his gaze locked on my face, reading every reaction, makes me feel safe. "You're doing so well," he whispers, his fingers curling just enough to hit a spot inside me that sends pleasure surging through. I moan, my hips arching instinctively, and he smiles, a dark, satisfied curve of his lips. "You like that?" he asks, his voice dropping into something darker, more seductive. "I'll make you feel even better." His fingers move faster now, scissoring and stretching me. He takes his time, his other hand stroking my thigh, his lips leaving a trail of kisses along its inner side. By the time he pulls his fingers out, my body is trembling, desperate for more. Gabriel rolls the condom over his length, slicking himself generously with lube. He kneels between my legs, his cock pushing slightly against my entrance as he leans over me, his lips hovering above mine. "Can I fuck you?" he asks, his voice rough with need. "Yes," I breathe, my voice trembling with anticipation. "Please." He holds my gaze as he slowly presses forward, the head office cock nudging my entrance before sliding in, inch by inch. The stretch is so good, a mix of pleasure and pressure, and he pauses, giving me time to adjust. His breathing is ragged, his hands gripping me hips as he holds himself back. "You feel so good," he groans, his voice thick with need, and emotion in response. "So fucking good." When he starts to move, it's slow at first, each thrust deep and measured. My body arches into him, my hands clutching at his shoulders as I moan his name, the sound echoing in the small room. His lips find mine again, swallowing my cries as he thrusts deeper, his pace quickening. "God, Ray," he growls, his voice wrecked. He adjusts his angle, and suddenly he's hitting that perfect spot inside me with every thrust. Pleasure crashes over me in waves, my body trembling beneath him as he moves faster, harder. His hand slides between us, wrapping around my cock, stroking me in time with his thrusts. I cry out, my hips bucking helplessly into his touch as the pressure builds, each movement pushing me closer to the edge. His grip tightens, his strokes perfectly in sync with the relentless rhythm of his hips. He pounds into me harder, their intensity stealing my breath until the pleasure is so overwhelming he can't hold on any longer. When I finally come, it's with a cry that feels ripped from my soul, my release spilling between us as my body convulses beneath him. Gabriel follows seconds later, groaning my name as his climax overtakes him, his body shuddering against mine as he spills inside him. He collapses onto me, his weight grounding me as we both struggle to catch our breath. For a long moment, neither of you speaks, the room filled only with the sound of our labored breathing and the faint hum of the hospital beyond the door. Finally, Gabriel presses a soft kiss to my temple, his fingers brushing through my hair. "Merry Christmas," he says, his voice full of warmth. I laugh, closing my eyes as I bask in the warmth of his body, feeling like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. "Merry Christmas." The day after Christmas, Gabrielle and I both have a rare day off. We spend it at his apartment, where he insists on making a proper, if belated, Christmas dinner. And, because I somehow always find a way to make things awkward for everybody, I've invited Kat to join me and my new boyfriend for dinner. While we wait for her to arrive, I sit at the kitchen island sipping wine as Gabrielle checks on the glazed ham in the oven. The smells wafting through the kitchen are nothing short of heavenly, and my stomach grumbles in anticipation. I still can't believe Kat called my eyebrows gay, Gabrielle says, glancing over his shoulder with a raised brow. I cringe, the memory of my post-coital confession flashing through my mind. Why, of all things, did I have to blurt that out now? I'm fairly certain Gabrielle is going to bring it up the moment Kat walks through the door. To be fair, I say carefully, when you approached her at the party, she did backtrack and say you're definitely not gay. Gabrielle straightens up from the oven, closing it with a soft click before turning to face me. Actually, when I went to talk to her that night, it wasn't really about her. What? I blink at him, wineglass paused halfway to my mouth. He grins, wiping his hands on a dish towel as he walks over Toad's stool beside me. I was trying to ask her about you. I wanted to know if you were seeing anyone. I quirk an eyebrow. You're kidding. Nope. He sits down, his grin widening. But then you showed up, and I completely lost my nerve. So when she told me you said you were waiting for her, I was waiting to talk about you, he finishes, leaning in to put a soft kiss on my lips. I didn't plan to act on it or anything, I just wanted to know. I let out an incredulous laugh, setting my glass down before its pills. We're both idiots. Maybe, he says, his smile softening as his eyes meet mine, but we got here eventually. I reach for him, pulling him down into another kiss, this one longer, deeper. When we finally pull apart, I rest my forehead against his, my lips finding his as I whisper, we should probably thank those mystery shots. Gabrielle laughs, the sound rich and warm, filling the space between us. Definitely. I need to know what was in them. I chuckle, leaning back just enough to look into his eyes. Me too. I actually had this whole conspiracy theory about them. Thank you for watching the video. Please leave your comments below. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel.